It's worse than the real world.
Everybody is already not being polite and starting to be real.
And this isn't going to last like 8 weeks, right?
No, right.
Welcome to the Not How I Remember It podcast, the podcast where we reread books from our childhoods and discuss. I'm Mandy, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host,
Jenny. Hi.
This week we are doing a special in memoriam episode. Beverly Cleary passed away at the ripe old age of 104, incredibly.
Crazy. So crazy.
And so we thought we would read a Beverly Cleary book and discuss it. There was much discussion amongst our families about what book to pick.
The mouse and the motorcycle did not win.
No, it did not. Much to your husband's extreme disappointment.
Yeah, it just I did not ever read that book. I did not like mice. I had no interest in motorcycles, and
to me, I know I read it, but I don't ever distinguish it from Stuart Little. So it didn't stand out. I'm like, right? There were little people, like little rodents that were in people's lives.
Wait, what? Weren't there other books? The Littles? And were they?
They were actual people. Yeah.
Okay.
The Littles were actual people. I think there was a TV series. I remember watching the Littles
I don't
TV
remember.
Series.
Yeah, I don't know why they were so little.
Yeah, I don't.
Was there a mouse in those books? I don't know.
Maybe maybe vaccines. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
know.
So Ralph S. Mouse did not win. There was also...
But he gets an honorary mention.
Yes, he does. My husband argued for Dear Mr. Henshaw. That was his fave. My own son loved the Henry Huggins series, Henry and Ribsy, and I know that Henry Huggins series was her first series.
Yeah.
But you and I both felt strongly that it needed to be a Ramona book.
Yeah. Definitely Ramona.
So we are reading Beezus and Ramona, which was the first of the Ramona series, although Beezus was in some of the other Henry Huggins books. And maybe even Ramona made an appearance in those as well.
Maybe so.
But this was their first series that they titled, headlined. And so this is one we went with, a Beezus and Ramona.
Yeah, first one in the series, so we thought we would just start, at the beginning. It kind of introduces the characters and
right. There are 99 print editions of Beezus and Ramona, and it's been printed in 6 languages, which seemed like not as many as I anticipated it being printed in.
That's not very many. No.
There was the 2010 movie with Joey King and Selena Gomez.
Yes, I did not watch that movie.
Oh, it was cute. Was
it cute?
Yeah. And then there was also apparently a Canadian TV series about Beezus and Ramona. Jenny, do you want to give us a little summary of Beezus and Ramona?
My book, as I always say, is it's a new edition book. I just got it off Amazon.
Same.
Although I did read that there was only 4 illustrators in the entire history of these books.
Cool.
So the first illustrator, it was built. It was written in the 55, so they wore dresses and stuff, and then their clothes kind of changed. And of course, I didn't write down any of the illustrators' names, but kudos to all 4. All right,
they don't get big billing for sure.
No, they don't. So
not on the older books that I have, or I did also, like you, buy a brand new edition of this, and there's no billing for the illustrators, so maybe they're
here.
Ghost.
Here on the illustrated. This one is by Jacqueline Rogers. So
yay, Jacqueline, nice job.
I liked her drawing. So, all right, what's Ramona up to? Big sister Beezus Quimby tries to be patient with her little sister Ramona, but it isn't easy. Not when Ramona powders her nose with marshmallows and invites her nursery school classmates to Beezus' birthday party without telling her family. Sometimes Beezus doesn't like Ramona, but the girls are sisters, and that means they will always love each other. Just not every single minute. And I was sort of fascinated by Ramona powdering her nose with a marshmallow, and I think we should do that.
Try it, give it a whirl.
We should try it, yeah. Because that seemed really fun. I didn't remember that at all.
No, I didn't remember that either.
I mean, that's kind of ingenious. Like, as much as Ramona did some kind of annoying things, that one was a good one. I was like, because then you can just eat the puff.
Right? And it totally feels like something I would have tried as a kid after reading it. Like, ooh, that sounds fun. Edible makeup?
Yeah.
Yay.
But I guess we never had marshmallows in our house. So
yeah.
Like you could use powdered sugar donut.
Oh dear.
Stuff.
You
could be
that sounds like something Ramona would do because it would create quite a mess.
It would. But yeah, so that's what's on the back of the book, and it was a lot about Beezus, who seemed kind of mature for her age. You know, possibly she did get put in the role a lot of caregiver, which I don't think it was as much of like, you have to watch your sister, as it just was sort of a telling tale of the time. Like, watch your sister and I'm going to go, I don't know, do whatever. And then a lot of times they would just be off different places, and kind of what you did in the 50s, 60s, 70s. You would just go off and be, and it was fine.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, the book really holds up, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of that sibling interaction, and that, you know, sort of really annoyingness of a younger sibling and the silliness. But that's the one thing to me that sort of stands out of, this was written in the 50s. The fact that they just go places on their own, you know?
Right.
I mean, I certainly did when I was a kid, but I wouldn't send my kids out onto the same road that my brother and I used to ride our bikes on to go get Dairy Queen, you know? And so I'm like, ooh, I would never send my kids out on that road to get Dairy Queen, especially the ages we went, right? And there was just a little bit more, there was not as much Dateline. I think we didn't know as many
right. Like
abduction stories.
And I always tell people, because they're like, oh, the world is horrible. I'm like, no, it's always been, it's always been a really bad place, everyone, beware. No, but it's always been a place of some danger, but we didn't hear about it 24 hours a day.
Right. Absolutely. You know? Yeah. Right.
And when I was 4, me and my friend Sandra, we would walk to kindergarten just down one road, just off. I was 4 years old. Just bye. Okay, have fun.
Yeah.
But I liked that about this book. It just let them be. It kind of took you to a little bit of a different time. And
yeah, absolutely. That sort of innocence of just walking. I will tell you this funny story when you said that about going to kindergarten. My brother and I used to walk to school, and we had to pass this house that had, and I don't remember if it was a panther or a cougar. I don't know. My brother and I had a big discussion about it after watching Tiger King last year. And kids would like lose their shoes and their backpacks because they'd go up to the fence. It was like fenced in their driveway.
Oh, wait, a real one?
Yeah, not like a lady, not like an older lady preying on young boys. It was an actual, like, large feline, and kids would lose their shoes. They'd try and...
ahead of its time.
Yeah. In the 80s, you know, you could just cage up I don't know. I really don't remember if it was a cougar or a panther or what. And I did discuss with my brother, and we couldn't decide on what it was. But yeah, it would be like, oh, Billy lost his backpack to the cougar. And yet we still walked past this animal every day. Whereas if it was my own children in, 2020, I might be like, maybe we're going to reroute.
Right. We're going to go across the street, boys. Yeah.
We are not each day going to stick our foot in and lose our shoe. But
I mean, you need to talk to your mom and get a little backstory on what the heck that was.
My mom was a teacher at the school. So my brother and I often walked because she was there like earlier and later, and we didn't want to, hang out in her classroom. And so, I'm going to talk to some other people because I went to elementary school with these folks, but I didn't go to middle school or high school. So I have to track down some people and get what actual animal was it? And was there ever a lawsuit? But it just reminded me, like that when I was a kid, you walked to school and it was a relatively far way. And we have kids, literally parents drive them the block and a half to sit in their car for the bus stop. Right? They don't even walk from their own house a block and a half away from the bus stop.
Right. Not by a big cat. So, yeah.
Right. There's no Tiger King concerns in this subdivision. The homeowners association would frown upon it.
They would.
But it did. So that sort of innocence of, letting kids be a little bit more independent than when we let them be now was kind of nostalgic to read, So I did enjoy that.
I really like Beverly Cleary. I've always enjoyed her books, and granted, I didn't have a sibling, so I couldn't, relate on that level, but there's just something so sweet about her. And her pictures, when I look at her online, I just want to go sit with her and have tea and sandwiches or something.
Right.
But she was a wonderful author. But looking her up these past couple days, everything is like author passes away. So it was hard to kind of dig through to find some of the other information about her. And every blogger in the world wanted to write a little piece about her. And again, digging through some of that crap was like, okay, great. You related to this character and this is why you're woke. I'm like, I just want to know some history of her.
Right. Well, I love this story. I did find an article. I don't know if it was on NPR or someplace else. Actually, it might have actually been on her own webpage. Because I did find she had her own webpage that had some information on her that was really beautiful about how when she was in third grade, she was in the low reading group. Mm-hmm. And she never forget how that felt to be in that low reading group. Yeah. And so she wanted to create books that children enjoyed reading and then cause them to be lifelong readers. And I was like, oh, well done, Beverly Cleary, you did it. Like
you did it.
Right?
How many cup of coffee?
Right?
Yeah.
And like how many people have an idea of something when they're a kid and then they actually sort of follow through with it? And I just thought it was lovely. She was a librarian before she was an author, which, is like special to my heart. Mm-hmm. So she got kids and the ability to sort of still write. I mean, it was such authentic feelings of the siblings, or like how Ramona was driving around the living room, knocking things over, on her tricycle.
Really an incorrigible little 4-year-old.
Right, right. She had a lot of moxie, that one. Yeah. And to be able to sort of think of childhood and be able to write it and not be skewed by your own, adult mind. Because I know one of the things reading these now, I see them so differently than when I read them as a child. So I'm even more enamored by these authors who are able to sort of capture that real feeling of childhood, which she just did so well and timelessly as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. There was nothing in here that I was like, yeah, that's what, it was like being a kid then. I mean, aside from the walking places, but it's still, kind of the same as being a kid today. And the way they related to the adults, like the art teacher, I really thought that was a lovely chapter where, Beezus was just trying to be so on the straight and narrow. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is how I'm supposed to do it. This is what's expected of me. And then when, the art teacher, just told her to relax and have fun. And then she drew I don't even remember
Pegasus.
What it was.
Was it like a Pegasus?
Yeah, with lollipops and, her imagination just flowed through. And even as an adult, I thought we should all still be using our imagination. It doesn't put an end to it just because, you passed 40 or whatever. It kind of makes us old when we don't continue imagining things and just being creative. And I think that's, my daughter said to me the other day, I think she was telling someone that we did a podcast, and, she said, you usually don't say, well, like, what does your parent do, or what is their hobby? Because usually a parent doesn't have as much of a hobby. I mean, some do, but it doesn't come up in conversation. And so, reading about Beezus and Ramona kind of reminded me to ratchet up that imagination in my everyday life and pay attention to things that I just kind of gloss over, that I don't even see as I'm walking about. I just zone into adult zone instead of what's in front of my face.
Right? Yeah, that whole painting scene was a great scenario. So, she was really struggling. She was she was happy to go to art class, right? Because it was the one time she got to get away from Beezus got to get away from Ramona.
Right, she just left her outside in the sand pile.
And I love that Ramona brought her imaginary lizard with her.
On a string, yeah.
To play in the sandbox, right? So she was just struggling and feeling left out because her artwork was always sort of like pushed to the side. Right? Mm-hmm. Everyone else's artwork was highlighted. Hers was always sort of pushed to the side, and she felt less than in terms of art. And so then her sister shows up and starts painting like this, crazy stuff. And the art teacher is like, yes, that's it. That's wonderful. Yeah. And it does sort of like free Ramona. No, did it again. Free Beezus up.
Another one, yeah.
To use her imagination. And it was sort of this great like aha moment in terms of, sometimes we do overthink things, right? Especially as adults. I know myself, I spend countless hours awake at night overthinking things, conversations, and, I should have done that this way, or things like that, right? And it just was this great sort of life analogy of just sometimes just let go and just... let it sort of, those things, thoughts and ideas just sort of flow and be. And so it was a great reminder to sort of just enjoy life a little bit and not try and make it so perfect. I love that.
Right. So, yeah, I like your cup, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I liked that. And the chapters were interesting because they were almost like standalone little books. Like they could have been, printed in the newspaper, like today's story brought to you by apples and
apples.
And they were really long. I mean, not in a bad way long, but like a little story long. So you could, feel like you made some like I read chapter 1.
Yeah.
It was exciting.
They were fun little, like, almost like their own little short stories.
Mm-hmm.
And they interrelated, but they weren't, it wasn't like chronological. It wasn't, all interconnected, like, and this happened and then the father came home. It was just these sweet little stories. I love the one where Beezus is tired of reading the same book to Ramona. How many parents could relate to that? Of like, I have read that book so many times, I can't read it anymore.
I hid it behind this, and then she found it still.
Right? And then even the part where she's reading it, and Ramona's like, you skipped a word. I remember trying to do that sometimes, like holding 2 pages together and be like, okay, we're going to just skip over. And my kids were like, oh, no, you missed that part. No. And so I loved that part, reading it as an adult, because I could so relate to that experience of being like, if I have to read this book one more time. And so they went to the library, and you know me, I love a library. I know you do as well. They went to the library to get the new book. Yeah. And, Ramona's trying to get her own library card, but just writing scribbles for her name. But I remember that feeling as a kid of like getting my own library card. Like, to be able to take my books up with my library card and not have to have my mom check them out for me. And I was like, oh, yes, that was such a good feeling. But it's not one, that I've thought of in a long time. And so I love that she sort of captured that feeling of that excitement of like, wow, they just let you take these books home and read them and bring them back. You don't have to pay for them,
No, I know. Unless you write in them.
Well, yes. Yes. And I did love that part too.
Spoiler alert, yeah.
Because Ramona writes in it, right? She doesn't want to take the book back.
Yeah.
So she writes her name, or however she can try and write her name, on every page. And they pay for the book. And then they tell Ramona she can keep it, and her eyes get like huge, like, wait, this is how I get free books?
All right, let's sharpen the pencils. And
the quick thinking librarian then said, oh, it was checked out on your sister's card, so it's your sister's book.
Right.
So, so that she wouldn't, do that to future library books. But yeah, I've had that in my own library, especially with kindergartners who might not get the concept.
Oh,
and, a book comes back with their name on it, and it's like, well, not this one, not quite.
Nope, not yours. But yeah, this book was fantastic. And I, again, should have done a little more homework, but, it's a very special episode. But I know that I read, obviously, I'm just going to say Beezus and Ramona. I loved Ramona the Pest. That, I think, was my favorite when she pulls the girl's curl.
Oh, yeah.
Like the girl in front of her. And I remember Ramona the Brave, but I wonder if I don't remember Ramona's World.
Yeah, I don't know if I read that one. I know I read Ramona Quimby, age 8. I remember Ramona and her father. Isn't that the one where her father loses his job? And so the mom has to go to work?
Yes, and people liked that because the little boy the real little boy in the library was like, why don't you write like people like us? And so, especially in the 50s, 60s, a mother going to work because the father lost his job, that was a little bit crazy.
Yeah, there would be certainly some talk in town, right?
On Click-a-Clat Street or Tick-a-Tack Street, whatever.
Click-a-Tat,
which is actually a real street in Oregon.
Yeah. I wonder how many visitors they've had in the past week.
Probably a lot.
Yeah.
Somebody that I read on there was saying they wonder if people get annoyed with passerbyers coming and taking pictures of the street sign. But there was no particular house on the street that they could identify with. So it's just the street sign.
I love that we got a visit from Henry and Ribsy in this book.
Yes.
That they came over to visit. I adored that story with the apples.
That was my favorite because I always bite into an apple. I'm like, this is the best ever. And then a couple bites later, I'm like, oh, it's just not as good as I thought it was a few minutes ago. And so it's true.
Right?
The first bite of the apple is the best bite of the apple.
Right. So she took just one bite of the entire bag of apples, which reminded I had once I was so like, oh, my son got himself up and got himself his own breakfast and then he put away what he didn't finish, and then I looked in there and he had eaten one bite off of each strawberry. Like just had bitten into each strawberry and then put them back in the refrigerator like anyone wanted the gross remaining.
Well, because the tip of the strawberry is also the best part.
And I loved how they then, decided to turn it into applesauce.
Right.
To serve when she invited all those kids over for the party.
And well, the night that it happened, then her mom was just, like enough energy to be like, I'm going to whip up some applesauce. Tons of applesauce. Right. And then for dessert, they had applesauce, which as a child and an adult would have kind of been like, what's for dessert? Applesauce. Oh. And then they had Fig Newtons too. And I was like, gosh, what a bummer dessert. Like, were they being punished? Fig Newtons and applesauce? Like, that was sorry. I mean, I love everything Beverly Cleary, but I don't love the dessert in the book.
I know. I did find that interesting as well, because I thought, if I serve, first of all, I don't know if I've ever had a Fig Newton. I know I've had like the strawberry Newtons or raspberry Newtons. But I don't know if I've ever had a fig one.
No, because they're horrible. that's nobody.
It seems like an April Fool's joke.
It is. Like, here's some fig, and we're going to put it in this cake. And then I've tried it. I wanted to like it because it looked delicious. It was, maybe it didn't look delicious, but it had a cakey part, and I wanted, great. And no.
Yeah. But Fig Newtons and applesauce isn't, I don't think anyone's requesting that for their birthday treat.
No. Right. I would have been like, no. Like, I went to a birthday party at the Quimby, and do you know what they served us? Applesauce and Fig Newtons. Ugh.
But the kids seemed to, until she said it was chewed up. Didn't you say it was chewed up bugs or something? So then none of the kids ate the Fig Newtons. And I was like, but they did enjoy the applesauce. So that was fun. I also loved when they decided to just ignore Ramona.
Yeah.
Because they're like, she just wants this negative attention. Just ignore her. I thought, oh my goodness, I used that so many times with my own with my own children. I remember this story of my oldest. I got a call from school once because he was eating snow on the playground. And I was like, and? I mean, like, I'm trying to be supportive, but I'm like, and? They're like, but he can't be eating snow. I'm like, no one has died of eating snow.
Ever.
He's going to be fine.
It
and they're like,
snows
but
every
he can't.
year.
You have to have a conversation with him and tell him he can't be eating the snow. And I was like, or we could just ignore it. We could just plan to say, you know what, we're not going to make a big deal out of it because guess what he's going to do again tomorrow if the snow is there. So I love that. I was like, yes. I love that Mrs. Quimby was using some the parenting technique that I also employed. It made me feel like, oh, good, pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, no, that was good. And I'm frankly in favor of eating snow because I think it's one of the less harmless things you can do as a child. What is not harmless is sticking your doll in the oven.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
And not getting really in trouble for it. And the thing why didn't it melt all the way? Like, I was a little like, what? I don't understand this part. But
yeah, that one seemed a little dangerous. Yeah. And I do sometimes feel like Ramona needed maybe a little bit more discipline.
Yeah.
Versus, Oh, Ramona.
Wow.
She almost burnt the entire house down. Oh, isn't she cute?
Her and her cute little Bob, yeah. You're right. I do think that, I don't know, maybe, the timeout hadn't been enforced yet. People just ignored their kids.
Right. There was a lot of that, right? Mm-hmm. In the 50s, for sure. 60s, 70s, that we're just like, oh, well, if no one needs to go to the emergency room, it's all good.
We're all fine, yeah. I guess the whole point of the book, was Beezus' trouble with being terrified that she did not like her sister some of the times. Like, I don't love her all the time. And, that's a really scary emotion for a kid to have. And for, her aunt to say, well, I never liked your mom all the time. And that's just normal. Like I used to tell my kids sometimes like, I say, I love you all the time. I don't really like what you did right now. And I'm not really feeling all the love right now, but I always love you. But, but don't send me mean emails, but that's just what I would tell them.
If you send them to her, send them to me too, because I have said the same thing to my own children, right? Because it is true, right? When you live in a house with other people, it's worse than the real world, right?
Everybody is already not being polite and starting to be real.
And this isn't going to last like 8 weeks, right?
No, right.
So it is okay to sort of understand that, yeah, you're not always going to get along all the time. Even your parents might, have squabbles. Wow, I really threw it back to the 50s, didn't I?
You must go sit on the Davenport when you have your squabbles.
You sleep on the plastic-covered Davenport, and I will sleep in the single bed upstairs next to the other single bed. But it is, you're right. It was because that was sort of a running theme throughout the book of her sort of this tension of not liking her sister, but how much her mom and her mom's sister got along. And she was thinking, but I'm supposed to love her. I'm supposed to adore her, and I don't. And so for her aunt to go, oh, whoa. When we were kids, we didn't have the same relationship. Right. I thought that was wonderful, sort of, to sort of address that, because it is true. I mean, I can't count the number of times that my brother and I fought. And yet, I adore him as an adult. Well, most of him. No, I'm just kidding. I adore him.
98%. Yeah.
He's probably about 62% on me. Because I'm the younger one, so I'm a little bit more feisty. But yeah, I loved reading this again. Again, I mean, I tell you what, the books from the 80s are really in the sweet spot of this. What was this one? Was another, how many pages here? Let me get to it. 182 pages?
Yeah.
And so it was an easy, quick read. It's a lovely one to read with your kids. I think all of her, the Henry Huggins, the Ramona books, probably, yes, to your husband, the Ralph S. Mouse, maybe.
Yes.
Mouse and the Motorcycle.
Yes.
If I had smaller kids, would for sure read them. We had a lot of these on our bookshelf because we had read them to my kids. And so they really do. They hold up, which is lovely to see.
My daughter still has a concussion from getting hit in the head with a ball, and is having trouble focusing on things more than normal. And so I read her the last chapter, even though she's, technically too old for the Ramona and Beezus books. But so I read her the last chapter of this book yesterday. There's something to do, and it's still it's still cute, and even for her. And I think sometimes, you think I can't read that because I'm too old, or it's out of my age range. And, she's not going to walk around with a Beezus and Ramona book. But sometimes I think it's just a nice break to maybe go back and read some of these books, even if you still are a child.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is. For sure. And especially our kids who are in high school, right. And are reading much heavier material. I know for us, we have got a book club book for our book club right now that seems there's some really intense stuff in it. So it was nice to take a break and sort of move into the world of, 6-year-olds, elementary school students, preschool students, and just sort of oh, isn't that sweet and lovely, and not be overwhelmed with, like you say, the horribleness of the world. So I really am so thankful for Beverly Cleary for creating these characters, for creating these books that have stood the test of time. It just doesn't stop amazing me as we reread these, the skill of these authors to sort of encapsulate that feeling. And
wait, pause.
Uh-oh.
Oh wait, no, you're sorry. You're having such a good
No, that's
thought.
okay. No, that's right.
Someone's at my door. What's up? Pio? Yeah. Okay. So, my son is going to go off on his own now into the world and ride his bike. So
nice. I thought maybe it was your husband going to be like, "It's not too late. Do Mouse versus Motorcycle."
Mouse versus Motorcycle.
I'll put an Instagram poll up and have people vote whether they would have preferred Henry Huggins, Beezus and Ramona, or Ramona Quimby, Mr. Henshaw, or Ralph S. Mouse. And we'll see. We'll see, because he argues that he thinks that Mouse versus Motorcycle would be the top pick. So
yeah, but I don't know.
Let's see. And he tell him he can only vote once.
Yeah, we'll do it on Tuesday when election day is.
Oh, yeah. Good call. Yeah, it really was lovely. It was fun to read again. I appreciate her writing, and I'm just thrilled to have read this book again. And what a celebration of her life at 104 to still have these books, available and still in circulation as they should be.
Right, and I really am going to read her biography, because A Girl from Yama Hill, or whatever it's called, because I think she's just so interesting. And she was really with it for an 104-year-old. Yeah. I mean, she was interviewed on her 100th birthday, I think, and she's just la 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 la. I can't even get my thoughts out on this podcast, and here she is giving a lovely interview at 100.
I know. I remember when she turned 100, and I saw some interview with her, and I thought, she's still alive, and she's 100, and she's with it, and still really sort of contributing to the world, because I don't know that I will be.
No.
At 100, I'm barely contributing to it at this point some days.
I'm not really doing much right now, but
So kudos to Beverly Cleary. I think her goal of creating books that people would enjoy and become lifelong readers was successful, and I'm so happy with her. And I'm really going to make a push for some kids in my own library to be reading some of these books.
Yes, and I was at the bookstore a couple days ago, and I did see that there was Ramona and Beezus and Beverly Cleary books in the Barnes and Noble by my house. So it's nice to see that you can pick them off the shelf instead of having to necessarily order them online, which I did before I went to the bookstore. So
yeah, ordering them online is so convenient, right? Especially,
yeah.
Especially now. But yeah, I love to support a local bookstore as well.
Yeah,
so
and
it's nice that you can get them there.
I should make the trip over to like an Anderson's bookstore or something, or like a smaller bookstore. I mean, I like Barnes and Noble. They moved from where they were in near Woodfield, and they moved to this other location, and it's so unbookstore like in the new bookstore. Like it's kind of sterile. It's not.
Is that it's like across the street right now. I think we went one time, and I thought, oh, this doesn't feel like a Barnes and Noble.
No, it's just sort of like a self-serve. Get your books and come in line and go.
It's almost like an airport bookstore.
Yeah, but still shop there because it's a bookstore. But
right. But yeah, maybe we take a field trip to Anderson's.
That'll be good.
So this summer, maybe we take our kids down to Anderson's bookshop and visit your local bookstore friends and support them so that there isn't only one place to get books.
Right.
In the future.
Yeah.
We don't have to rely on Amazon to tell us what we can read. All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to this special Memorial podcast for Beverly Cleary. We appreciate you being here. This is our 7th podcast. Oh man, we're gonna hit 10 in no time.
Anytime now.
And that's when we're gonna go big. Yeah, I'm sure of it.
Yeah, it's gonna happen once,
Still waiting for Rob Lowe to get back to us on the Outsiders. See if he wants to do a follow up. But as soon as that happens, I'm sure.
No, call Rob Lowe. Okay.
All right, everyone, enjoy your day, your week, whenever you're listening to this. Thanks for listening. If you have other suggestions of books we should read, let us know, unless it's Mouse versus a Motorcycle. We know it's on the list. We'll get to it. But if you have other books you think we should read and discuss, let us know. We would love to hear from you. You can find us at Not How I Remember It podcast on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and at gmail.com. Not How I Remember It at gmail.com.
Yes. And as I've seen in other podcasts and stuff, they go, smash that like button.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Yes. So like us and follow us.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
All of that.
All
the things that the kids say.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, Ramona.